Hey, hey. Woo! All right. Hey, it's Jordan. I am live about 5:30 Eastern time here in New York City. Beautiful sunny day out. I was working outside today. Um, Boy, just when you think things are slowing down in the news, things get crazy again. It really we're in a oversaturated news world, in my view, and it's very hard to sink your teeth into one story because before you know it, there's a gazillion more stories. If you notice, I've made a production change today. Tell me if you see anything different. Tell me if you see anything different here. There's a production change on the lavish set of Jordan Sheridan Reports. Anybody notice a change other than my the bags under my eyes getting much darker? Going once, going twice, three times? All right, I'll tell you. I have moved my Patreon sign to my left. I have moved my Patreon sign to the left because I noticed, why didn't anyone tell me? I noticed that I really wasn't eye level with the audience, like for weeks. I was like, so I could get the Patreon sign in the shot, I was lifting my computer up and it had me kind of like looking down. So I hope I'm more eye level because my father always told me, make sure you look at them in the eye. Make sure you look at them in the eye. Yes, this is a clean shirt. And pinky promise, I want to tell you, you just said the lighting looks better. Most people wouldn't admit it, but I do admit it when I'm wrong. And I do admit it when I'm stupid, which usually goes hand in hand every day. The lighting problem was not because I didn't have the right lights. My computer was not on the right brightness level. So take a look at this. I had my computer down to there and I didn't realize. And then somebody came over and like, I was telling them the problem and they were like, is your computer all the way up on brightness? So live and you learn, right? Live and you learn. I'm going to wait just a minute or two to see if we can get a few more viewers because I have a very important announcement to make and I don't want to make it twice. So definitely press the share button. Get it out to as many people as you can so this announcement I'm about to make, everybody gets it. Live now. Going to start with Houston. Just telling somebody something. So there's a lot of exciting things going on. I don't have the formal announcement yet, but it's possible I might be on the road again as soon as next week. I don't want to tell you where, but it's looking good that I might go on the road again. Obviously, my trip in Virginia and West Virginia, where I covered the tree protests and other things, was awesome. It was amazing to get back out there and cover things being ignored. Your contributions are what made it possible, so thank you to everyone who's subscribing to my Patreon, and thank you to everyone who has contributed just for that reporting trip last week, 2 weeks ago. We got over $1,000 in contributions to my PayPal. So thank you so much. And like I said, I'm currently trying to get back in the field next week somewhere. So once I know more about that, I'll tell you. But again, your contributions are what's going to make it possible. So right now, I'm basically going out in the field, mostly out of my savings. So thank you so much. If you have a couple bucks to contribute, you could do it at patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports or paypal.me/Jordan Sheridan. My business partner, Jen, will put everything in there. Now, before I get to the first story, I want to announce a very exciting opportunity for my viewers and supporters of real journalism that covers the stories no one else will cover. My business partner, Jen, and I, but definitely more Jen, have been essentially working, I guess, every day of the week for about 4 or 5 months. Many hours a day. There's a lot going on behind the scenes you don't know about to try and launch this company, to try and get the funding we need, to try and do a lot of things that must be done on the business end to launch Status Coup. Status Coup. If you don't know, where you been? We're trying to get this bad boy off the ground. So as we work to do that, we're looking for funding, obviously. We're looking for potential reporters we could hire. We're looking for potential business types we could hire. We're looking for a lot. And we've been trying to do it on our own, but I think we started to realize it's truly time to unleash and gather an army. So with that said, today I announce my nomination. Today I announce my candidacy for President of the United States. No, kidding. Today I announce we are looking for volunteers. Volunteers to help Jordan Chariton Reports, which will become Status Coup eventually. So how do you do it? JordanChariton.com. That's JordanChariton.com/volunteer. So let's see. Yeah, JordanChariton.com/volunteer. There you can enter your information, first and last name, your email, phone number, address, city, zip code, state, country, and what are your skills? What are your talents? If you don't have any talent, I guess fake it till you make it. But hopefully you do have some talent, because we need help in quite a lot of areas. Definitely audio video engineering, computer networking, computer programming, fundraising, which is important. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. You know, we need funding, and right now we don't have the necessary funding. So graphic design, internet research, that could be really helpful to me. Marketing, outreach, publicity, SEO, transcription, video editing, social media, journalism, and website development. This is all private information. Your information is coming straight to us, to nobody else. So please, if you're interested in volunteering, obviously people have full-time jobs and kids and relationships. So if you're not interested or you don't have the time, not a problem at all. If you are interested in volunteering, now you could go to JordanChariton.com/volunteer and help us. Obviously, volunteer is exactly volunteer. So unfortunately, there's no payment involved, just saying that totally upfront. Right now, I'm having a hard enough time paying my rent. And obviously, Jen is working full-time, so she needs to be paid. And my video editor, Colin Tooley, who is awesome, has been editing all my videos, and now Teresa's videos and Marcus's videos for months, for basically peanuts. So thanks to Colin. So if you're interested, JordanChariton.com/volunteer. We will be vetting you. So we're not taking in any kooky people. I don't mind kooky people, but I do mind them for my media organization. So we're not looking for any drama. We're looking for people with skills, with the passion, and who buy into this vision. And Jen will be vetting you folks. So if you get past her, you can get past anyone. So I'll mention this again later on, but definitely share it. JordanChariton.com/volunteer. Johnny Nice, can you explain what the main difference is between Status Coup and Tatum? This volunteer thing reminds me of your last endeavor. That's a good question. I actually did a video a couple months ago, actually, when I ended Tatum. If you don't know, Tatum is donezo. The main difference, first of all, I was not involved with Tatum, so this would be the main difference. Contrary to some things that were suggested, I was not involved with Tatum. I wish I could have been more involved, but I had a full-time job. For a couple things. Number one, Tatum was a non-profit. Status Coup will be a for-profit. Not because we're greedy motherfuckers, but non-profit limits you on what you could do. And for-profit, we want to not only do intrepid journalism, but also make it a business and make it so we could show the world you don't have to do Donald Trump, Stormy Daniels, and Vladimir Putin all day to make money. You can do real reporting on real stories on the disappearing middle class and also make a profit and live at the same time. So that's the main difference. Tatum was nonprofit, and Status Coup will be for-profit. The other difference is, you know, I think with Tatum, I very, very good, in a good faith way, thought I could bring on kind of non-experienced journalists, in some cases no journalistic experience, and kind of morph them into journalism. In a lot of cases, kind of activists and morph them into journalism. That, frankly, although it was well-intentioned, I do think that activism is important, but it is a little hard sometimes to shift people from activism to journalism. It's just it's basically a whole different type of person, really. And I think activism is important, but to me, my activism is journalism. And you have to keep those two separated. I don't go protest, I don't go marching, I don't go, I keep the line drawn. Whereas status quo, obviously I don't care if you don't have 10 years, 20 years of journalism experience, but we do want people who have some training and some journalism experience because I'm too busy, and taking on the oligarchy is a 24/7 job. I don't have time to really train people who don't have journalism experience. So I'd say those are the main differences. We're not kind of taking on people with zero experience to try and make them journalists. That was kind of what Tatum was. And Status Quo will be a full-born media organization. Another difference is Status Quo is actually going to be professional. Because Tatum, since I wasn't involved and it was on very shoestring budget, we didn't have really the best website. We didn't really have an infrastructure. Whereas Status Quo, we're actually building the site right now. It is going to be very, very vibrant as far as live streaming directly on the site. We're going to try to create a community so we don't have to depend on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Tim Gordon, do you need to live in New York City? No, you do not need to live in New York City to volunteer or necessarily work when we eventually get off the ground, Status Quo. But Status Quo, we're going to have professionals in place. We didn't really have that for Truth Against the Machine. And Truth Against the Machine was a learning experience for me. And at the end of the day, the main difference is I wasn't really involved in Truth Against the Machine, whereas Status Quo, I will be, very, very involved at the front seat. So it's really the same DNA, though. We're going to cover things that are ignored. We are going to be aggressive and confront power, confront politicians, confront corporate greed and CEOs that are burying the rest of us, like Mr. Jeff Bezos. And we are going to do everything we can to cover real stories and real struggle and real people. I'm not interested in clickbait. I'm not interested in covering Trump 24/7 to, make things go viral. If I was, I would have done it a long time ago. So those are the main differences. And what do I define as journalistic experience? I define journalistic experience not necessarily, hold on, you cannot be real journalists when working for profit. Totally disagree. You can be a real journalist when working for profit. The difference is, where are you getting the profit from? I'd rather be getting the profit from you, the people. You, the people. I don't want to be getting the profit working for Comcast. I don't want to be getting the profit working for Time Warner or AT&T, which is who CNN will eventually be bought by. Certainly don't want to be making profit working for Verizon. I think you can cover real stories. You can do real journalism. You can send reporters all over this country, hey, long-term, maybe even all over the world, and get funding from interested viewers, get funding from progressive organizations. I'm talking to you, Ben & Jerry's. Would love to talk to Mr. Ben & Jerry about some sponsorships. Just keeping it real. You can make money because we do need to live. I mean, I need to live. I need to pay rent, food, if I eventually have a family. These are all things that we all need, as does Jen, as does other reporters we're going to hire. YouTube needs to monetize you for Super Chat. Hey, let me tell you something. Can I be honest here? Jen might get mad at me. Whenever I say Jen might get mad at me, she blushes from Maryland because she lives in Maryland. There's a lot of shady things going on with YouTube. And I would love to put up on the screen right now my email exchange with YouTube and tell you what is going on with YouTube. Because the shenanigans YouTube is playing to suppress this channel, and it's not just this channel, but let me tell you something. This channel is being suppressed. And if you saw the emails that YouTube has been sending me, oh my Lord, would you be incensed? But I'm not going to do that yet. I'm not going to do that yet. If they keep suppressing me, oh, I shall. I shall. Because I'm tired of being suppressed. Because you know who gets hurt other than me and Jen? You, the people. The people in Flint, whose story isn't getting out to as many people as possible. The people in Santa Fe, Texas, 8 children just died, 2 teachers, which I'm going to get to next. YouTube is hurting struggling communities by suppressing independent journalists who want to cover those communities. But I'm not going to go in depth. I'm not going to show you the email that shows, frankly, they're suppressing me, and I have the evidence to prove it. And by the way, you ask, why can't I do a super chat? I'll tell you why. Because they haven't monetized this channel. Guess what the subscriber count you need to be monetized is? 10,000. Guess what we just reached? We just passed, thanks to you, the viewer, 13,000. Guess when we launched this channel? End of February. So that's 13,000 subscribers in 3 months. Yet we're not monetized because we were told end of April, they have a backlog, so end of April, you'll be monetized. Jen goes very nicely, she's a very nice lady. She goes, hey, where's our monetization? We want to do super chats and whatever else. We have a backlog, end of June. When we go to them at the end of June, they'll tell you, you know, maybe when your kid is bar mitzvahed. I don't have a child yet, so that's a long time. I want to be like the cool kids, like Jimmy and Jamal and all these people who have super chat. It would very much help in our funding battle. But until that day, please, patreon.com/JordanCharitonReports. You can also contribute at paypal.me/JordanChariton. paypal.me/JordanChariton. That's where you could contribute if you want to contribute 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, whatever. Because that's the money that I need to go back. I would like to go back somewhere, preferably next week, somewhere that I've been to many times, somewhere where I'm hopefully about to break a major, major story, which I'll get to later. So with that said, let me get to the news. You know, I thought about what do I want to start with today? And please press the share button. Let's get this out to as many people. I thought about what do I want to start with today. You have 17 Democrats who voted to deregulate Wall Street in March. In the Senate, now the House passed, so now Dodd-Frank is basically gone. It's not totally repealed, but essentially they've rolled it back to the point that the big banks can do whatever the hell they want. I was thinking I want to start with that, but I'm not going to. I was thinking I want to start with insane comments that were made on Flint's water. I'm not going to. Because I think how we start to end the normalization of school shootings is by continuing to cover it and to lead off with the ongoing updates of school shootings. I don't know if I can make that much a difference, but I don't think it's normal when children are massacred in schools every single week in supposedly the greatest country on earth. I don't think that's normal. I just don't. And what's making it normal is because the media stops covering it. This time, oh, my Patreon sign is out of the frame. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. Let me get that sign. I don't want you to be cut off here. All I need in this life is sin. Woo! All right, I'll figure it out next time. You get the gist. It's not normal when children are massacred in their schools. Not normal at all. It's not normal when politicians in Texas put out the most ridiculous statements. It's not normal when the governor of Texas, who's up for re-election, as a giveaway, was going to give away guns. He was going to give away a shotgun as a campaign giveaway. That's not normal. Hold on, this is pissing me off. Woo. There we go. So, this is not normal. Oh, now it's even worse. Great. I'll fix it next time. So, what's going on in this country where 8 children are massacred just a few days ago? What's today? Wednesday? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 5 days ago. 5 days ago. The autopsy report, they're not releasing. Why is that? Prosecutor won't release autopsies during probe. The latest on the Texas school shooting. The Texas prosecutor handling a high school shooting that killed 10 people says autopsies won't be released while the investigation is underway. Galveston County District Attorney Jack Rohde declined to answer questions Sunday about the investigation or the shooting last week at Santa Fe High School outside Houston. That included declining to answer questions over whether police gunfire may have struck any students during a drawn-out firefight with the 17-year-old suspected gunman. Galveston County Judge Mark Henry has said police exchanged gunfire for, quote, quite a while with suspected shooter Demetrios Pagortis before he eventually surrendered. Pagortis wasn't struck by any bullets. He is in jail on capital murder charges. So I want to tell you what is being said in some quarters. I want to be very clear. I don't have any evidence of this. This is not me reporting this, but I am telling you some things I'm hearing. I don't have verification. At this point, it's speculation, but I tend to think it might have some validity. But there are rumblings in Texas that the reason the police are, the reason they are not releasing the autopsy report is because some of the students might have been killed by police in the gunfire accidentally. That is not verified. That is not confirmed. I'm just putting that out there. This is just me telling you what is some of the rumblings happening down there in Texas. Santa Fe is close to Houston, just so you know geographically. So it's possible. This is possible in all school shootings. Because obviously, if you have a gunman who's able to get a gun, because we have no real gun laws in this school, and police come in to try and stop the gunman, usually a male, it's possible, even though the police is trying to shoot the gunman, a student could be nearby, the gunman could use a kid as a human shield, or a bullet ricochets off a wall and goes into a student. You don't know. So it's not, I'm not attacking police if they are trying to save students, but this is what happens when you have like a shootout at the OK Corral. This is what happens when it's the Wild Wild West. I want to fix the sign, Jordan. I want to fix the sign, Shiva, but this is a little more important to report on this. So this is why all these, we need more guns in schools, arm the teachers, arm the lunch lady, arm the 90-year-old hall monitor, who my grandma, who died last summer, was a hall monitor. If you could leave it up to the NRA, arm my dearly departed grandma. Love you, Mama. So this, again, there's no confirmation, but this is some of the rumblings on why they're not releasing the autopsy report. Why wouldn't you release the autopsy report during the investigation? It's not going to affect the investigation, but if it came out that police bullets killed students, again, I wouldn't criticize police. Obviously that would be an accident. Ooh, that would hurt the NRA, wouldn't it? That would actually hurt President Trump, who says the answer is there's not enough guns. Arm the teachers. So that's why I think they're not releasing the autopsy, but I do not know for certain. Meanwhile, a couple schools down there have staged die-ins. So this was Dickinson High School today. Dickinson High School staged a die-in in support of Santa Fe. There you can see you have, I don't know how many, but looks like a couple dozen students laying out, dying, but only in 2018 do you have a die-in while the students are also taking selfies. So, not criticizing, just pointing out. But this happened at Dickinson High School in Texas, and what also happened was a moron state senator said this: "The gun did not determine the outcome. That burden rests with the morally corrupt and the mentally ill," Santa Fe State Senator Larry Taylor said. Let's think about this here. The gun did not determine the outcome. That burden rests with the morally corrupt and the mentally ill. I beg to differ, because your brain, mental illness there's a lot of contributions to mental illness. Some is an imbalance of chemicals in your brain. Some is, a rough childhood mixed with that imbalance. Some is, substance abuse. There's a lot of contributions to what makes someone so deranged to go in and murder people. But the actual mechanism is the actual trigger on the gun. And the fact that we have politicians in this country continuing to insult not only your intelligence, but the parents of these students. Oh, Dickinson is my school, Commander Mays says. There was a lot of us there. Yeah, there were a lot of people. It's great to hear. The fact that these politicians keep using this ridiculous talking points, it's the deprived mind that's responsible. Yeah, but the deprived mind doesn't have a trigger. The gun has the trigger. The shotgun that he brought. The pistol that he brought. And no, the main issue isn't that parents aren't locking up their guns. That is one issue, but that's not the main issue. And I hate to have to do this, but let me read some of that brilliant state senator that represents Santa Fe, Texas, what he thinks is the problem. Engagement, not protest, will prevent school violence. Oh, here we go. On Friday, our Texas community became the latest in a list all too long of places left to sort through the profound sorrow and underlying grief left in the wake of a school shooting. Our neighbors lost children and family. This is a road our country has walked down too many times, and in the face of reckless hatred and unspeakable evil, we blame, we plan, and we pray that the most vulnerable among us will never know this fear. With this crushing reality, we are left with the hollow frustration we could have and should have done better for our kids and for each other. So far, it sounds lovely. But here we go. We found ourselves here just last February, confronted with the reality that through all our debate and partisan politics, our children were not safe. In the aftermath of Parkland, Florida, sides were picked and people moved further apart. Walkouts were staged, seemingly in demand of government action on gun control. What is lost in that rhetoric, is that divide is what brought us to that point. We just don't understand each other. Oh, that's the problem, right? That's the problem. We just don't understand each other. I just need to better understand the mind of somebody who packs up a bunch of guns, usually wears, stuff to conceal themselves, and then goes shoot up random people in school. Well, in some cases, people that they don't like. It's reported that the shooter was turned down. He had made, romantic overtures to one of the students, and he was turned down, and that's part of why he did what he did. But we just need to better understand those people, is what he's saying. Through the use of social media, a retired Texas educator proposed that instead of walking out, we should be walking up, engaging. Perhaps we shouldn't be turning our backs and marginalizing each other. Perhaps we should be approaching each other and disregarding social stigmas and the ostracizing that sows resentment and bleeds alienation. Far too often, we abandon those who come from a different background, have a different understanding, or act in a different way. I implore students and adults alike, don't give up, don't walk out, engage, eat lunch with the quiet kid, realize that your neighbors on the opposite side of the argument also want what is best for children, and allow honest discussion and earnest commitment to community and fellowship to speak to the disaffection that festers to hate. I can't read any more of that bullshit, because it's bullshit. And it's insulting my intelligence, it's insulting your intelligence, and it's insulting the legacy and the memory of the students in Parkland that have been massacred, the students that were just massacred in Santa Fe, Texas. This is not a problem of we all just don't understand each other. This is not let's sing Kumbaya, everything will be better. This is not, we really need to take care of how many entrances and exits we have at schools. There's just too many entrances and exits, as the lieutenant governor said. Here's what's happening. Everywhere in the country. Schools, concert, movie theaters, malls. People are picking up guns and massacring people. Unfortunately, and I say this to everybody, as somebody who suffers from depression, I take antidepressants, I have no shame in saying that, you're never going to eradicate all mental health problems. We could make improvements. We should add a lot more to the federal budget for mental health, because mental health is just as important as physical health. And any research from scientists, medical experts will tell you mental and physical health They go hand in hand. When one is off, the other soon follows. So, of course, mental health is important, but you're never going to eradicate mental health issues. You're not going to solve or help every single deranged 16 or 17-year-old or older. You're just not going to. People are going to fall through the cracks, especially in a country that has more guns in distribution than people. Eli says, I smoke pot for anxiety. It's legal in California. Yo, LOL. Yo, LOL. I take baths and listen to Third Eye Blind and Coldplay for anxiety, but that's just me. So, all these idiots, like this state senator and Ted Cruz with the thoughts and prayers, and we just need to hold hands and understand each other better. No, that's not the problem. Honestly, we do understand each other. That's what's really going on. We understand that the politicians, whether it's a state senator, senator on the federal level, or the president, they don't value human life. They don't care. Lives are under staying in power. That's what we understand. That is the truth. And because CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Associated Press and BuzzFeed and Mike and all these, supposedly progressive outlets, and frankly, independent media stops covering these shootings a few days after. Let's be real. I love many of the independent media, but how many of the independent journalists out there, the commentators, are still covering the Santa Fe High School shooting? I'm not saying that to give myself a pat on the back. I'm saying it because how this continues to happen and how this continues to how it continues to be normalized is when we stop paying attention to it, when we stop saying this is not normal, when we stop calling out the politicians that are responsible. And I rarely would do this, but Michael Bloomberg is right. Bloomberg's gun control group blames Texas governor for school shooting. Let me read you this. Everytown for Gun Safety, the advocacy group founded by former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, ran a full-paid ad in the Houston Chronicle Tuesday, blaming Texas Governor Greg Abbott's inaction on gun control for the shooting at a Texas high school Friday. The ad, which features a letter signed by 40 Texas high school students, comes just days after 17-year-old Dimitri Pagortis, apologies if I'm mispronouncing, killed 10 and injured 13 at Santa Fe High School outside Houston using a legally owned shotgun and a .38 revolver he stole from his father. Quote, our job is to be good students. Your job is to keep us safe. You have failed at your job, the students wrote in a letter to Abbott. Like so many politicians cozy with the NRA, you have steadfastly opposed any reasonable measures that might protect us from gun violence. Instead, you've signed dangerous policies to force public colleges in Texas to allow guns on campus and make it legal to openly carry firearms in public. Quote, you've continued to push the notion that guns everywhere for everyone make us safer, the letter continues. By that logic, shouldn't we be among the safest states in the nation? Abbott announced after the school shooting that he would host a series of roundtable discussions on school safety. Give me a fuck. Not allowed to curse on YouTube, forgot. Give me a flippin' break. Quote, do you think that the children who were shot in class this week died because they hadn't prayed enough? What about the 26 who were killed while they were worshiping in Sutherland Springs? Do you think they are to blame rather than yourself and other politicians who refuse to allow even a meaningful discourse on reasonable gun violence prevention policies? The students wrote in the letter that was sent to Abbott. I mean, I did a video the other day, you can check it out right here on the channel, where I exposed the fact that Governor Greg Abbott, his career in politics began because the NRA had a front group, a law enforcement front group that the NRA funded that helped get Greg Abbott elected as Attorney General. And what do you know? Then Greg Abbott starts getting a lot of money from the NRA. The NRA runs ads for him in his run for governor. And what do you know? He pushes any law or any bill sent to him to open up gun distribution, any law to make it easier for guns to come into play. Greg Abbott signed. But now he's running for re-election this year, so all of a sudden he wants to have roundtables. Well, what do you know? Before this school shooting, Greg Abbott, who now is having roundtables, was about to give away a shotgun as a giveaway for his campaign. You know, most campaigns give away like a bumper sticker, I don't know, cool swag like shirts, maybe a lunch with the candidate. Greg Abbott was going to give away a shotgun because, hey, thankfully, when 8 children were shot and 2 teachers, let's not forget the teachers, they changed course. Very kind of you, Mr. Abbott. There will be a press conference on Friday, March for Our Lives, you know, the large march that happened in Washington, D.C., which was launched and spearheaded by the students from Parkland, Florida. Now they're expanding and having chapters in other states. So March for Our Lives, I believe the Texas chapter will be having a press conference on Friday with Santa Fe high school students. So I'm sure it will get some corporate media attention, but I've kept on CNN and MSNBC most of the day because I love to torture myself. And I watch it so you don't have to. And I have a podcast called Beat the Press. Beat the Press, exclusive for my Patreon subscribers. So if you're not subscribed to Patreon, what are you doing? But anyway, there will be a press conference. I won't be there, but I'll cover what is said. And, you know, it's just, to me, of course, if I put in a headline, Hillary Clinton is a witch, I'd probably have 200 viewers by now. Of course, if I covered more things with more mass appeal, I'd have more viewers right now. But I cover what I think is the most important story. And to me, when students and children are getting massacred in their schools, that's not a normal thing. And it's the journalist's responsibility to be the voice for the voiceless, to offer a voice for those without one. And these students that were murdered now don't have a voice because they don't have life. I'm sorry to be so dramatic, but that's the truth. So I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to find new ways to cover these shootings ongoing until there's less for me to cover. And when I have funding to launch Status Coup, I will be going to cover these communities after the cameras leave, because it's not normal for students to go to school on a weekly basis and not come home. It's not normal for parents to have to bury their children. It's not normal for politicians not to be challenged on their contributions from the NRA. It's not normal for politicians putting money and power before human life to get off scot-free. Not normal. So, let's see here. This is bothering me. There we go. All right, let's see what we can do here. Hold on. Ay, ay, ay. Very difficult. Okay. There we go. Oh, almost. There we go. This is what we do. This is the beginning of the media revolution. We go this way, you go right, you go left, till you can get the sign in there. Thank you to those who are subscribing at Patreon. We're a little stuck right now. We're at 390, I believe. I'd love to get to 400, and I would love to get enough money to get back in the field, because there's kind of a story important that I think is not getting any coverage. If you haven't noticed, I tend to cover it sometimes. Have you heard of Flint, Michigan? Okay. So, as you know, the Flint water crisis has been going on for 4 years. The media left Flint long ago, and they basically left poor black people, poor white people to fend for themselves after being poisoned by their government. I have a major investigative piece that I've been working on now for 6 months, and I'm happy to announce that piece will be published next week. I wish I had the production to put off fireworks and stuff like that, because I'm very excited that this piece is getting out. I believe it will be out next Tuesday. I believe, hopefully, if we can get enough traction on it on social media, that it might help residents get armed with information, nothing else, to push the change that they deserve. I think the piece will show very clearly that the science that has been used, the testing that has been done to declare the water safe and normal and restored, let's just say, is seriously flawed. And that's putting it generously. So that will be out next week. It will be out in a publication that is progressive. I will tell the story very soon of all the publications that said no to this piece, majority of which chose not even to read it. We'll get to that later. But it will be out next week. Stay tuned. We'll be doing some promotional things to get you ready for it. And please spread the word once this piece is out. I think hopefully, if done right, hopefully it can save lives. But I need you to help me spread it. All this social media suppression, I need you to help me spread it. So, you know, it's interesting that Governor Snyder declared Flint's water, quote, restored, because apparently Genesee County, which Flint is part of, doesn't seem to agree with the governor. Here we go. Genesee County Health Department urges Flint residents to continue using filters. So Governor Snyder, as you know, ended the free water bottle pods where residents could get free water a couple of weeks ago, saying that the water is restored. Well, here we go. Is Flint's water safe to drink? Residents are being flooded with contradicting statements over the condition of their water. Weeks ago, the state announced it would end bottled water distribution because the city's water is safe to drink. But the county health department is saying not so fast. The Genesee County Health Department is warning residents to keep using filters and bottled water. Quote, "It's just getting so confusing on who to believe about what," said Karen Eaton, Flint resident. Eaton wishes the state and everybody else would just get on the same page when it comes to the safety of Flint's water. Quote, "It's mostly irritating and having to have a filter on my brand new faucet makes me mad," Eaton said. She said it doesn't make her as mad as the state announcing last month that it was ending the water distribution sites, saying the water quality in Flint was comparable to other cities across the country. That's the talking point that the government, the state, and the EPA has been using. Now Flint's water is just dandy compared to the other cities across America. The state said using a filter was a matter of personal choice for residents who had their lead service lines replaced. John McKellar with the Genesee County Health Department is urging people to use filters no matter what the state is saying. The concern is for people that might have a low immune system. Young children or anyone that is concerned with anything that the filters might not catch should continue to use bottled water, McKellar said. McKellar said the county just wanted to remind everyone that an emergency declaration is still in place in the county, and the closing down of the pods doesn't necessarily mean that people should stop using precautions. Flint residents said they would rather be safe than sorry. Quote, "That's how we got to the situation in the first place, is a government not doing what they're supposed to," said Stephanie Hardin Clark, Flint resident. The health department said if you don't have access to bottled water and are in a high-risk group, using a filter and then boiling your water should make it safe to use. Oh boy. So, where do I even begin? First of all, as a reminder, the piece that is coming out next week, I believe, will show without a shadow of a doubt that the talking point they're using, that the water is now, compared to other cities, the levels of lead in the water is now normal. I believe my piece will show that is highly, highly suspect. I believe it will show that the science that has been used and the water testing that has been done is severely inadequate. I believe it will show that it's not just inadequate in Flint, but across the country. And I believe it will show that water utilities in Flint and elsewhere are essentially cheating the system and getting around already inadequate EPA regulations to declare water safe when it's not safe, because they don't want to actually pay to replace lead service lines, to fix plumbing in people's homes, and to do the extensive testing that needs to be done all over the city. It will show that small sample sizes are being used all over the country, particularly in Flint, to declare water safe for poisoned, poor communities. It will show that imperfect and very flawed historical records are being used for this water testing to say we're testing homes most at risk for lead. I've dumbed down the piece as much as I can, but I hope you will read the whole thing. I believe they haven't edited it yet, but it's a couple thousand words. But it's the most important thing I've ever written about or reported on, and I hope you'll read it and you'll share it, because to me, Lives are at stake, not only in Flint, but all over this country. And frankly, if I'm keeping it real, I would like to go back to Flint as soon as possible. I just don't have the money to do it. Just being honest. I don't have the funding to do it. Our Patreon funding is not big enough yet for me to go out on the road more often. I definitely would like to go back to Flint. I'd like to go to other communities to cover water contamination and straight up corruption and a lot of other stories. Just need your help. So thank you to those who have subscribed. If you haven't, I hope you'll consider. You could do it as low as $1 a month, $3 a month, $5 a month, and higher. Or you could go to my PayPal, paypal.me/JordanChariton. PayPal.me/JordanChariton. But while Genesee County is telling its residents keep using filters, even though the governor says, no, it's fine, the water's fine now. All of a sudden, Mark Edwards, who is the scientist from Virginia Tech, who originally said the water crisis, who originally found alarming levels of lead in the water, and he's been heralded as a hero by the media. He's been heralded as like the troublemaker scientist by a New York Times profile. He's won all sorts of awards. He just got $2 million in grant money from the EPA to do similar testing that he did in Flint, in other communities. All of a sudden today, he kind of said that the lead levels in Flint were not really that out of ordinary compared to history in Flint. Let me read this to you. And share this video. Mayor Karen Weaver says Hurley Medical Center doctors who voted to no longer use the phrase, quote, lead poisoned when referring to Flint children are disrespecting the community. But the doctors are getting support from Mark Edwards, the Virginia Tech professor who first helped expose elevated levels of lead in city water. Weaver and Flint's chief public health advisor, Pamela Pugh, issued statements in a Tuesday, May 22nd news release, taking issue with what Hurley said was a unanimous vote at an annual meeting of physicians last week. Doctors agreed to discontinue the word poisoned when the medical staff communicates as a collective body about Flint children. Quote, hearing that Hurley doctors are attempting to minimize damages when it comes to the lives of Flint residents concerns me, Weaver said. That kind of behavior is disrespectful to our community and unbelievably insensitive to what we have endured over the past 4 years. I am personally offended by the decision a few Hurley doctors have made because it minimizes the tragedy that Flint residents have experienced through no fault of their own. Dr. Hernan Gomez, a toxicologist, pediatrician, and emergency physician at Hurley, led the push to dump term lead poisoned, saying it is inaccurate and stigmatizes children from the city. No, I think what stigmatizes the children from the city is the extreme levels of lead they have in their bodies. That's what stigmatizes them, nothing else. Flint residents were lead exposed during the water crisis, Gomez said, but that exposure did not meet the medical definition of poisoning. I mean, have you ever heard of something so ridiculous? What meets the definition of poisoning? What do they have to, like, their face have to go green? Like blood gushing out of them? What meets the medical definition of being poisoned? Can somebody tell me this? But it gets better. It gets better. Here we go. Edwards, who again is the Virginia Tech scientist who first found the high levels of lead, he's been credited as a hero. He pretty much goes after anybody that questions his science. Edwards said he supports the use of the term lead exposed, calling the term lead poisoned certainly loaded. Quote, while it's technically accurate that any lead exposure will cause some neurological harm, it is also important to provide historical context. The water lead exposures that occurred in Flint from 2014 to 2015, and by the way are still happening, but let's not state facts here. The water lead exposure that occurred in Flint from 2014 to 2015 are not outside the norms of recent history in Flint or what is still occurring daily in other U.S. cities, Edwards said. While I condemn any effort to downplay the health harm, it is irresponsible to create an impression that the average child in Flint was either lead poisoned or permanently brain damaged as a result of the 2014-2015 water lead exposure. Oh my boy, oh my lord, oh my lord, oh my lord. How do I even begin? So, first of all, I don't live in Flint, but I have enough sources in Flint, and I've reported in Flint enough to tell you there was, when he says, what did he say? It is important to provide historical context. The water lead exposures that occurred in Flint from 2014 to 2015 are not outside the norms of recent history in Flint. What norms is he talking about? When were lead levels in Flint that high? There were lead levels, there was one lead level found at 22,000 parts per billion. Are you aware that the EPA's action level for lead in water, action level means like the minimum that they're okay with, is 15? I believe 22,000 is a lot higher than 15. And what historical time period are you comparing what happened not in 2014 to 2015, but what is still happening? There are still very high lead levels being found in the city of Flint, which I will show you in the story that's being published next week. There are still insanely high lead levels being found in some schools in Flint. Yet the governor and Mr. Edwards declared the water restored and normal compared to other cities. But what historical time period did Flint citywide have lead levels way above the EPA action level? You want to know when? Never. That's why you never heard about a Flint water crisis in the 80s or the 90s. Was it possible that there was some lead, coming out of pipes here and there? Yeah, particularly when there's construction going on in streets and, pipes get kicked around by construction work. That happens in Flint and other cities. But I really don't know what he's talking about when he says, again, the lead exposure, not poisoning, the exposure that occurred in 2014 to 2015 are not outside the norms of recent history in Flint, or what is still occurring daily in other U.S. cities. Well, I got news for you, Mr. Edwards. It's not normal. That's not a norm, first of all. And secondly, again, because the corporate media and the Flint Journal, which essentially consistently just regurgitates whatever the hell scientists like Mark Edwards tell them without actually asking any questions or having any scrutiny, a real journalist would have said, what historical period had the same levels of lead than in 2014 to 2015. Can you explain that? I want to make sure my audience has the right information. But because I'm the Flint Journal, which, little secret I've learned on the road, corporate national media is terrible, but local corporate media is just as bad. They are asleep at the switch because they're just as corporate and they're just as lazy and they're just as lacking journalistic ethics as the big boys and gals on our TVs and at the New York Times. So they'll just regurgitate bullshit that Mark Edwards or anyone else tells them. But I think saying that, trying to minimize the lead levels from 2014 to 2015, calling it, they're lead exposed, they're not lead poisoned. First of all, what is the main reason that this is an issue? Why do you care? Why is this an issue that we have to mince about the wording? Lead exposed, lead poisoning. They were poisoned. And by the way, I've interviewed enough to know there was permanent brain damage done to children and adults. One gentleman had such bad lead poisoning, and not just lead, other heavy metals and bacteria, that he could no longer drive, his memory was shot, and he had rampant mood swings. That's called brain damage. But no. No. They were just exposed. Just exposed, not poisoned. So I'd love to know what exactly he's talking about, which historical time period in Flint had the same levels of lead poisoning that Flint had in 2014 and 2015, and what other cities in America, you're saying compared to other cities, had this level of lead poisoning citywide. I'd love to know that. That would be great to know. So again, I will be publishing that piece next week. I'm not going to tell you where yet because I want the element of surprise. I'm hoping it will be published early next week. I also am hoping you will read it, you will share it, and you will demand change on social media and support the people in Flint. Because this piece, Jen could tell you, I put my blood, my sweat, my tears, everything into it. I've written it and rewritten it about 40 times at this point, trying to get it published. So thank you so much, and I'll continue covering the Flint water crisis, which is a crisis. And by the way, poor people now have less access to free bottled water because this governor shut down the water pods on, frankly, very flawed science, and Nestle is basically stealing all of Michigan's water and stealing water from all over this country. As I drink my Fiji. So, moving on to more insanity. Today, the House Republicans, assisted by many, many House Democrats, they voted to basically repeal Dodd-Frank. It's technically not repealed, but basically it's repealed. The House sent a major revision of banking regulations to President Trump's desk on Tuesday after conservatives who wanted a more sweeping rollback decided to accept a bipartisan deal crafted by the Senate. Supporters said the bill would give businesses more access to loans for homes and cars that they cannot get now because of government regulations. Critics said the measure would thwart efforts to fight discriminatory lending and increases the risk of future bank failures and bailouts. The bill passed the Senate in March with 67 votes, including 17 from, quote, moderate Democrats. Yeah, moderate. It would roll back some of the mandates imposed on banks in the 2010 regulatory overhaul law known as Dodd-Frank, which was enacted in response to the 2008 financial collapse. The House vote for passage was 258 to 159, with just 33 Democrats supporting it and 1 Republican opposed. Just 33 Democrats? I think that's 33 Democrats too much. Quote, this is a bill for the small banks that are the financial anchors of our communities, House Speaker Paul Ryan, that bastion of progressivism, said at a news conference. It addresses some of Dodd-Frank's biggest burdens. Let me show you the Democrats in the House that voted for this. You had Representative Berra from California, Representative Bishop from Georgia, Representative Carson from Indiana, Representative Correa from California, Costa from California, Cuellar from Texas, Davis from Illinois, Delaney from Maryland, Foster from Illinois, Gonzalez from Texas, Gottheimer from New Jersey, Hastings from Florida, Himes from Connecticut, Kind from Wisconsin, Custer from New Hampshire, Larson from Washington State, Lawson from Florida, Maloney from New York, Murphy from Florida, Nolan from Minnesota, O'Halloran from Arizona, Peters from California, Peterson from Maryland, Rice from New York, Rochester from Pennsylvania, Schneider from Illinois, Schrader from Oregon, Scott from Georgia, Sewell from Alabama, Sinema from Arizona, Swazi from New York, Vesey from Texas, and Vela from Texas. So if any of those are in your neck of the woods, they're selling you out. They are selling you down the river. Folks show. And as a reminder, these were the Democrats who voted in March to sell you out. Here we go. Michael Bennet. Hold on. Michael Bennet, who's taken almost $2 million from Wall Street. Thank you, Mr. Bennett in Colorado. Senator Tom Carper, 170,000 buckos from Delaware. We got Senator Chris Coons from Delaware, 373,000. He voted to help the Senate Republicans pass that bill. What a wacky picture there. Senator Joe Donnelly, up for re-election in Indiana, 448,000 big ones. From Wall Street, he helped them in March. New Senator Maggie Hassan, 421,000 from Wall Street, and she just found a bathroom in the Senate. She's brand new, elected in 2016, already 421,000 from Wall Street. She voted to basically let big banks do whatever the hell they want. Senator Heidi Heitkamp, famous of letting unarmed people get shot in the face in North Dakota because she's bought off from big oil. She's also bought off from Wall Street, $511,000 for Wall Street. Senator Doug Jones, just elected, thanks to running against a child pedophile, $417,000 already. He also is just finding the bathroom in the Senate. Senator Tim Kaine, stronger together, $921,000 from Wall Street. Woo! Looks like he needs to go to the bathroom in that picture. Senator Angus King, the independent from Maine, caucuses with Democrats, but he's independent. $115,000 voted for that deregulation bill. Senator Joe Manchin, who just defeated progressive challenger Paula Jean Swearengin, $289,000 from Wall Street. And there you go. He voted to repeal Dodd-Frank. Senator Claire McCaskill, up for re-election, $809,000 from Wall Street. She voted lickety-split, up for re-election. Senator Bill Nelson, Florida, up for re-election, $281,000, voted to deregulate. Senator Gary Peters, Michigan, $648,000 from Wall Street. Senator Jane Shahan, $319,000, Wall Street. Senator Debbie Stabenow, up for re-election, $484,000. Senator John Tester, up for re-election, $782,000. Those big banks, let them go. Senator Mark Warner, who just voted to nominate to get torturer Gina Haspel passed through as CIA director. He's taken $1,377,000. Let's deregulate Wall Street. That's it. Those are the 17 from the Senate who voted in March. Elizabeth Warren on the House vote today, she said this: big banks have spent millions of dollars trying to roll back the rules we put in place after we bailed them out 10 years ago. Today, they got what they paid for. The House just passed the #Bank Lobbyist Act. We've lost this round, but we won't give up the fight. That was Elizabeth Warren, who I think is terrific on economic and financial issues. Unfortunately, I think she's a little too political on other issues and doesn't pass the progressive smell test on every issue. But on this, I completely agree with her. So, just gave $10 and shared your work on Facebook. Thank you, Joyce Sander. Can't thank you enough for your contribution. Every single person who contributes are helping me get back on the road and helping me launch Status Coup, because there needs to be a journalistic status coup, a journalistic coup d'etat. We are going to do it journalistically. Keep your bow and arrow and guns at home. It is a non-violent coup d'etat. But thank you so much, Joyce, for your contribution. And thank you to all my patrons who are watching right now, all the people who have subscribed through PayPal. Your contributions will get me on the road, hire other reporters, hire business people to actually get the business flowing, get the business clicking on all cylinders, and get this kind of reporting out to as many people as possible. Because let's keep it real, there's not a lot of people getting out in the field to cover the disappearing middle class, environmental genocide, and other very, very crucial matters that don't see the light of day in America. So thank you to Joyce, who just pledged $10 a month to Patreon. Now, this is, honestly, this is why I always say Republicans, Democrats, yeah, Republicans are worse when it comes to women's bodies. Republicans are definitely worse when it comes to immigration and things like that. I am not black, I am not brown, and I'm not a woman. So I do take those issues very, very seriously. But economically, which affects all groups, but disproportionately, brown and black people, indigenous people are disproportionately affected from income inequality, from Wall Street getting away with murder. The 2008 financial crash disproportionately hurt African Americans. So what's the difference? Yes, you have the Republican Party controlling all facets of government, but they cannot pass these things without Democrats helping them get it over the finish line. They cannot pass these things without fake progressives. They can't. But we have people like Heidi Heitkamp and Claire McCaskill and Joe Manchin and Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, who go give these speeches about the working class, who go give these speeches to lead the resistance against Trump and bring back our country from the tyranny that is Trump, while in the next breath selling out their constituents and all of you. I'm not letting the Republican Party off the hook, because they are just as responsible, if not more, but they are not pretending to be the party of the working people. They make it quite evident who they represent. The Democratic Party is the one providing the false advertising. The Democratic Party is the one that can put up the opposition to stop this insanity. And by the way, these Democrats who voted for it said, oh, well, you know, yeah, it does repeal some things for big banks, but the main reason that we voted for it is that it helps small banks. Give me a break. You can push back and say, no, I will not vote for a bill that helps small banks only if we deregulate big banks. You could take the big banks part of it out. Sorry, Paul Ryan. Sorry, Mitch McConnell. Sorry, Donald Trump. Sorry, Koch brothers. Sorry, Sheldon Adelson. Sorry, Paul Singer. Sorry, Ron Mercer. I could keep going with these corrupt donors. Sorry, George Soros. Sorry, all of them. We will not vote for a bill that, in order for us to get a little help for small community banks, helps deregulate and take burdens off of financial banks, which got no penalties other than lunch money they had to pay in fines. No bankers went to jail. Black people are going to jail for broken taillights, but bankers who took down the global economy, who stole your house from you, who destroyed your 401k, who are responsible for you, losing all the money you saved up for, they get off scot-free. Only in America. Only in America. So I hold the Democrats at fault. Yes, the Republicans, but I hold the Democrats at fault. And don't let these Democrats, I'll put the link in once we post this video, of the 17 Democrats that voted to pass this, as well as the 33 Democrats in the House. Don't let these Democrats who are running for re-election fool you. Get on Twitter. Get on Facebook. Get in political groups in your community. If you are in a community with these senators, call them out. And push forward whoever are the progressive alternatives primarying them. In some of these cases, the primary has already passed, and a lot of them, the primary has not passed. But they are not progressives, and they are not true Democrats in the mold of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, which is who Bernie Sanders, in my view, is in the mold of. And the chickens are going to come home to roost. It's not getting any coverage now, but let me tell you something. When Wall Street and these big banks take down the economy again, it's going to happen. I just had a conversation about it last night with somebody who used to work at Merrill Lynch. When they do it again in the next 2 to 3 years, remember this day, because it's deregulation like this that's going to let them do it. It might not affect you today, but trust me, it will affect you. Because the people that get screwed the most from this are not the Koch brothers. It's you and me. Sometimes you just got to shake your head. But we can do it. We can create the change. Part of that starts with real reporting on the ground to expose these politicians. I want to hire reporters all over this country to confront these politicians. You see what I did with Donna Brazil? Put that on steroids, because we're going to do that all over the country. And we're not taking appointments. We're going to surprise these folks. We're going to find out where they are. We're not going to stalk them at their homes. They will have microphones in their face. They will have cameras in their face. It won't always be me in their face, because we need way more than me to really, really effectively deliver a status coup. Cindy Matthews says, all Dems are suspect in my opinion. That's why Tim Godova went independent. The true progressive are going third party. I think that's very valid. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm getting there, Cindy. I'm getting to the point where I cannot support a Democratic Party takeover. I'm getting to that point where I might be Dem exit. I'm not there yet, but I'm close. I'm close. So with that, I end. But for those of you that came later, we are looking for volunteers now. If you are interested in helping us in a lot of different areas, we need audio help. We need video help. We need research help. We need marketing help. We need fundraising help. I mean, the list goes on. www.jordanchariton.com/volunteer. That is my website. You could go there, fill out your info, your name, email, phone number, address, city, zip code, state, country, skill you have, and whatever else is in there. We're not asking for your blood type. We don't need your social security number, favorite color, none of that stuff. But if you want to help launch Status Coup, this is how you're going to do it. Jen is the one that will be vetting you. She is a tough customer. So if you get through Jen, you could get through anybody. So we will be vetting people because we don't want crazy people coming on board, but we do need a lot of help. No, you do not need to be based in New York. No, there is no payment for this. It is volunteer. Barely have enough money to pay myself right now, or Jen, but we're trying. So that's what's going on. www.jordanchariton.com/volunteer. Can't wait to see what submissions come in. Tell your friends. Tell other progressives that they're interested. We definitely need help and want help to launch Status Coup. I will see you back here tomorrow. Oh, by the way, if you haven't noticed, we have a new reporter who started this week. There's been some technical difficulties. He's having a little buffering going on with his connection, so we're going to try to smooth that out. His name is Marcus Ely, so definitely follow him on Twitter at Marcus Ely. It's MarquisEaly. Definitely follow him, and definitely make sure you press the bell for notifications. Click on all notifications. YouTube tells me you got to click on all notifications. I know people that have, but still don't get notified. But click on all notifications and stay tuned for some exciting announcements. Also, make sure you're following me on Twitter at Jordan Chariton, because I've been hearing from people they're not seeing my tweets. And always email me at emailjordan@protonmail.com. Email Jordan at protonmail.com. And if you'd like to see me back in Flint, you know how to do it. Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports or PayPal.me/Jordan Chariton. If you can't subscribe every month, PayPal is a good way where you could leave a one-time contribution or whenever you get a few extra bucks. PayPal.me/Jordan Chariton. We got $1,000 for while we were in Virginia and West Virginia, which is literally how we stayed there for 5 days for gas money, hotels, food, all that. That's how we did it. So Patreon and PayPal, thank you so much for your support. Speak with you soon.